Welcome to Eat, Sleep, Wine, Repeat, a podcast for all you wine lovers who, if you're like me, just cannot get enough of the good stuff. I'm Janina, your host, brand ambassador, wine educator, and sommelier. So stick with me as we dive deeper into this ever-evolving, wonderful world of wine. And wherever you are listening to this, cheers to you.
Hello, wine friends, and welcome back to another episode. Today's guest is Cristina Torres, the next generation at the helm of Marimar Estate in Sonoma. She's the fifth generation of the Torres family, one of the great wine dynasties of the world. They are part of the Primum Familiae Vini, or PFV for short. You can scroll back to episode 238, around the 14-minute mark, and I covered all 10 of the first families of wine there. But Torres, they are Catalan at heart, and their influence stretches from their home in Spain across the globe, especially to California, which is what this episode is all about, and to Chile. Now, in California, you'll find Marimar Estate, founded by Christina's mother, Marimar Torres, who has brought her heritage, her cooking, her culture, and total zest for life to the Russian River Valley. Their vineyards sit in cool climate pockets, and they're perfect for elegant Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, but they also champion Spanish grapes over in the Russian River Valley. And this is just that beautiful thread that goes back to the Catalan roots, which we're going to talk about on this episode. And I should say, I've had the pleasure of watching both Christina and Marimar together, and they are genuinely a very inspiring duo. Marimar, who I believe has just crossed the 80 mark, still has the energy and sparkle of someone half her age. She's skiing, she's playing tennis, she's switching between her 6 languages, and I imagine she's still cooking up a storm. She's written the Catalan Country Kitchen and the Spanish Table. So if cookbooks are your thing, I will pop links in the show notes so you can add it to your Christmas list, or, well, just buy one and treat yourself now. I can tell you honestly, she is everything I would like to be when I finally grow up. So today's chat with Cristina, we're going to be talking about their very unique family story, their Spanish varieties taking root in Sonoma, the differences between Russian River Valley and Green Valley, Pinot Noir clones. But before we get there, let me give you one more reason why the Torres family is so exciting. They are doing some of the most forward-thinking work in the wine world. So, fun wine fact time. And this is about the recovery of ancestral grape varieties, old, nearly forgotten grapes that might actually help us face climate change. They have collected samples from over 139 different sites so far. And then when these grapes come in, they go through a rigorous 5 years of micro-vinifications. And so far, they have revived more than 60 varieties. However, only a handful will probably most likely have a future. But names like Forcada, this is the standout so far, Perenne, Gonfaus, Monu, Querol, and Garot are ones to watch. The Torres family are so incredibly sustainability driven at Marimar Estate. They are 100% solar powered. There's cover crops. There's chickens roaming for biodiversity, owl boxes to keep the gophers in check, poor gophers. Bluebird nests, because bluebirds love to snack on sharpshooters, which spreads Pierce's disease, so that's not what we want. And there's beehives to keep the whole ecosystem humming. I could go on, but then we'll never get to the episode. So on that note, pour yourself a glass of something delicious, settle in, and enjoy the chat with Cristina Torres. Cristina, I finally got you in the wine chair. Are you ready to talk to me about Pinot Noir, Albariño, everything that's planted in your vineyards?
Yeah, really looking forward to this chat.
Okay, I think we need to take it back to the beginning of your wine journey, because actually you had an MBA, then you worked to harvest in the cellar at, do you pronounce it DeLoach?
DeLoach.
DeLoach. So I mean, what was that first harvest experience like for you?
Oh my goodness. That was quite the kick in the butt is the short version. Yeah, going from being a full-time MBA student to working like 15-hour days in the cellar and manual labor. It was, yeah, that was quite a shock of a transition, but it was really fascinating and being on the front lines, I guess, and really being a part of that process. It was a great experience.
But you have always wanted to be in the wine business, right? Because your mother apparently overheard you. How old were you as a child saying that you were going to be part of this?
Yeah, I think I was like maybe 8 or so, 7 or 8. So the truth is that my mom always says that she had assumed that I wouldn't want to go into the business because she raised me on her own literally while starting the business and took me, along with her. And so she worked and still does work very long hours. And so she assumed that I wouldn't want that for myself. And so if we leave aside the brief dream of I had my favorite person ever was like this grocery store cashier. So I wanted to be a grocery store checkout person. But if we leave that to the side, no, for me, it was always really clear that I wanted to go into the business. And so apparently she overheard me, when I was 7 or 8 years old, when an adult asks you, oh, what do you want to be? And she was surprised. So fortunately, she really never has pressured me to join the business.
But this is actually beautiful that you have joined her, because let's back this up a little bit. You are part of a semi-well-known family, a very well-known family in the wine industry, the Torres family. How many generations are we now having made wine?
Yeah, so the business today is now 5th generation. So founded in 1870. Yeah, so it is quite the legacy that I'm proud to be a part of.
And this is the first mother-daughter. This is the double generation female power, is it not?
Exactly. Each of those 5 generations, the transition in our family has always been from father to son, and this will indeed be the first time from mother to daughter. So it is an exciting thing as well.
Well, totally. And I was really lucky. I think this may have been last year, the year before. Actually, oh gosh, do you know what? It could have been COVID times because it was virtual. And you and your mum, Marimar, this is Marimar Estate that we are talking about today. You both joined the call and you were just fabulous together. The energy that you could see of how you work with each other, talk for each other. It's beautiful. So you quite clearly have a really close working relationship now. I mean, what has it been like to transition into that business alongside her? Because she's a powerhouse, is she not?
Oh my goodness, she sure is.
A force of nature.
Yeah, oh my gosh, for sure. Good luck, getting in Marimar's way. Yeah, we certainly, I wonder if you picked up on some of that like mother-daughter banter that can be also playful.
Yes.
And, on the good days and on most days playful, and because we also both have pretty clear ideas, and sometimes there's a little like back and forth, but it's really been joining my mom. It has been a journey. I mean, anyone who works in family business, it is there are ups and downs along the way. I will say something that we have always been really close, and I'm an only child. She raised me on her own, and so our mother-daughter relationship has really been sacred to us. So we have our weekly dinners, Tuesday nights, like rain or shine. I come over for dinner. And then on the business side of things, we also try to like only talk about business during the week and not too late into the night, definitely not during dinners. And it is, I think our styles are quite complementary. And I think over the years, it was 5.5 years ago now that I joined the business. And at first, there was like a little period, a year and a half in or so, where I was gaining, enough a bit of knowledge and where she maybe wasn't quite ready, or at least we had some like butting heads. And then really since then she's been taking baby steps back. And I mean, gosh, I have so much to learn from her, and she also, you know, learns from me. So it's a wonderful process. And especially in the past couple years, she really, you know, when we talk through something and we don't see it the same way, most of the time she says that it's my decision. I'm running the day-to-day of the business. So, yeah.
Good. That's she's finally kind of maybe let go of the power. But I think actually we should go back to the beginning, because like I mentioned, I said she is a force of nature. It's like, I swear, does this woman never sleep? From listening to what has she done in the past to what seems to be her activities during the week. I mean, how did she set up this winery? And I do know part of this, which is why I think it's such a fascinating story, because she came to America at a time when women just don't set up businesses the way that she did, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, gosh, it was certainly a whole nother time. She grew up in Spain in the 50s, 60s, early 70s. And so in those days, this was Spain under Franco. And there was really no place for her in the business, in our family business, as a woman in those days. My grandparents wanted what they thought was best for her, which was to marry well. And so she did, long story short, she did end up accompanying my grandfather. She started accompanying my grandfather promoting the wines, and he was the ultimate salesman, opening up new markets. And so she was really his right hand, and they were spending a good amount of time in North America. So then she ended up moving to San Francisco in 1975, and she was taking care of exports of our family wines to North America and selling a lot of wine. And yeah, boy, like just imagine the contrast between moving from, it was the very end of the reign of Franco, to San Francisco in the 70s. And what a contrast that is. But she was really just like a fish in water in this country, and it was a whole nother world of opportunity for her. And so she started dreaming about making her own wine in California. And then in the early 80s, she began looking for property to plant under vine. And here we are today, is the short-ish version.
And I love that, because quite clearly coming to San Francisco, she became the wild child and she started really doing things for herself. So I guess, I don't know, actually, what might be quite nice is just to touch on, you know, the first vineyard planted and Russian River. Like, so when we talk about Sonoma actually has so many different AVAs that, I mean,
super diverse.
Right. We're going to talk a lot about Pinot Noir on this episode, but there's Zinfandel, there's Cabernet Sauvignon much further north. So Russian River Valley is much cooler and very different to many other parts of Sonoma. So can you encapsulate what makes Russian River AVA so special?
Well, our biggest climatic influence in Sonoma County and probably even, in all of California and the West Coast is the Pacific Ocean. So that is this huge body of cool water, which, since we are in West Sonoma County, and in fact in West Russian River, we're in the westernmost part in another sub-AVA called Green Valley, which is the coolest and foggiest part of the Russian River. And so that really allows, it's really an ideal conditions for Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, which, funny enough, when my mom bought this initial property in 83, it was not wine country in those days, which is hard to imagine. But yeah, she had an advisor who told her, this land will be good for Chardonnay and Pinot Noir and not too much else. And apparently she said, oh, great, I love Chardonnay and Pinot. So yeah, it's really that cooling influence in the afternoon breezes come in, and then the fog in the morning, especially on warm days, that doesn't burn off until, 11, 12. So even on warm days, that diurnal range is huge, which is, of course, the difference in temperature between the hottest part of the day and the coolest part of the day, which really allows us to slow down ripening and retain that natural acidity and have a longer hang time to develop flavors and complexity. So it's really that cooling influence is so key to West Russian River and to the Russian River Valley in West Sonoma County.
Is Green Valley AVA the coolest of all the AVAs in Sonoma? AVA.
So probably it is among the coolest. There are some parts along the Sonoma Coast that I would say are probably even cooler, whether we're talking like Fort Ross Seaview, whether we're talking some other parts along like really right, even closer to the ocean. We are only 10 miles from the Pacific Ocean, and then our second vineyard is only 7 miles from the Pacific. But yeah, there are some regions that are even cooler.
But I suppose the vineyards right in the Sonoma coastal AVA, they still really need probably to be looked at properly and have smaller AVAs, because there's still so many differences all along the coastline. It's still quite a large area as such, right?
Yeah, there sure is. My goodness, absolutely.
So I feel like sometimes in Sonoma, for me, it's about knowing the producer sometimes, which is why everyone listening, you're onto a good one with Marimar. There we go.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the grapes and the winemaking in a second, but actually I want to quiz you a little bit about the fact that you didn't just decide, hey, let's do a harvest and now I'm going to work with my mom and now I'm going to take over. You also came to England and worked at a wine importers for a while. I love that, which is John E. Fells. Why did you, very happy for you. Why? Why did you come to England and spend some time working with us?
You know, when growing up, I did know that I wanted to join the business. And so I thought, well, how am I going to prepare myself best to be in a position to lead the business successfully? And so I thought, well, and, many people say you get that outside experience before joining the family business. So I focused on that and my MBA I joined the business 9.5 years after finishing my undergrad degree. And so I actually started out just a couple years in fashion, which was another good kick in the butt. And certainly, it turns out it's hard to get a job in fashion. I was like 21 years old. The world is your oyster. And so after a year and a half, I was ready to move on and wanted to go back into wine. I was living in Paris at the time. And this opportunity came up to join John E. Fells, which is a fantastic distributor in the UK. And we have a great relationship with them. And so there was an opening on the London sales team. I remember I was working the market with them and visiting as a producer, and remembered hearing about the opening on the London sales team. And so then I said, hey, I'd like to put my hat in the ring. And it was a fantastic experience, really, to see that side of the business. It is tough being on the ground in London. There's certainly a lot of competition. And so that was a fantastic experience. And then after a year, I actually moved onto the marketing team and was brand manager for the French wines in the portfolio for a year and a half. So that was another super interesting experience. Super grateful to the Fells team and Steve Moody, and who's like a mentor to me.
Do you know what I love? The fact that your mum was born in Spain and then went off to sell wine in America, and then the winery happened, and you were born in America and went off to England to sell the wine, and then came back to the winery. So ironically, different timelines, different decades, but you both answered the same calling before getting into winemaking.
Well, and funny enough, we each think that it was our idea that for me to get outside experience. So if you talk to my mom, it was her idea.
Listen, you're not supposed to agree on everything. And actually, talking of not agreeing on everything, I'd love to know about you now taking over. I imagine your working styles, there must be some that are similar, complementary, but there must be some some that are totally different. So how would you describe how things have been, how things are now, where you're taking the winery?
Yeah, boy, our styles can be certainly quite different. There's certainly the generational gap, as well as just, gosh, I mean, she had to like, you could say, fight her way into this business and to building this business back in those days. So, of course, a very different context. But boy, do we have many times very different styles, whereas she is very direct and she just gets straight to the point. And I can be a lot more, well, I have trouble being like confrontational. And while I usually have some clear ideas or clear questions, I'm always trying to like please people, and I have a much softer style and she has a much like harder, firmer style. Yeah, and another thing that comes to mind, once she makes a decision, she just goes for it. She just goes with her gut and like plows forward. Whereas I'm much more analytical. I like structure. I want to have a goal and like a plan and metrics and such. And so that ends up being actually a nice, like almost medium where she really pushes me to like move forward on things. And I think I bring some of the like more analytical side, thoughtful side to our decision-making process.
So I love that you're working together as a team, but going back to the beginning when the first vineyard was planted, was it just Chardonnay and Pinot Noir that was planted at the beginning?
Yeah, it was. So she first planted the Chardonnay in 86, and then the Pinot Noir she started planting in 88. So in those days, but it wasn't even a given that it would be Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. And Pinot Noir was more of a risk in those days because Americans weren't drinking red wine in the 80s. And boy, oh boy, that was, before Sideways. But from the early days, she was experimenting with Spanish varietals. And that's, I think something that she credits her brother Miguel with. And so she actually started with, believe it or not, Parellada.
Interesting.
Which is one of the classic cava varietals that we make a great wine at Torres from Parellada. Actually, well, Viña Sol is a classic in the UK. And so after many years of trying, we just didn't get the concentration, the complexity that we were looking for. And then in the 2000s, she started experimenting with Albariño and Tempranillo. And the Albariño, she actually planted first at our Sonoma Coast vineyard because it is even cooler there. And Galicia in northwest Spain is so cool and foggy and rainy. And so she thought, okay, we'll try the Sonoma Coast vineyard first. And it actually wasn't, it was too cool for Albariño. So then 3 years later, we planted it over here in Russian River Valley. So it was in the late 2000s, and then 2010 was the first 100% Albariño, and in the late 2000s, the Tempranillo.
And I have tasted the Albariño. I'm sure I remember saying sun-kissed. I don't remember any more of my tasting note. How does Albariño from the Green Valley compare to a typical Rias Baixas Albariño?
Yeah, it's so fun sharing this wine in the trade, going out and visiting accounts and consumers, of course, too. And I would say that it still has the like classic varietal characteristics of really like bright fruit on the nose and like a clean, nice minerality and even that like salinity that we find in Albariño, that classic piece. But I would say that the fruit, you just have a little bit more California sunshine in your glass with our Albariño. So just a little bit fuller fruit, but not going into the like tropical fruits, but just a little bit more ripeness.
But everybody knows these days about Albariño because it's getting more and more fashionable. But Godello, Is
yeah.
a Spanish grape variety from Galicia, which is the white Burgundy of Spain. And I just think it has so much to offer, but it's a bit of a grape variety that goes under the radar. So talk to me about Godello and about how you feel it presents from, is this also planted in Green Valley?
Yes. So we have in our Sonoma Coast vineyard, we only have Pinot Noir planted there, and it's 20 acres of Pinot planted. And then in our Russian River Green Valley vineyard, we have Chardonnay, Pinot, Albariño, Tempranillo. Yes, Godello. Godello, boy, it's a fun one. I admit when I joined the business in 2020, and then it became clear that there would be like circa 400 cases of Godello a year, I was like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do with 400 cases a year, like just in DTC and in direct sales? But my goodness, people love this wine, and it is really almost exclusively in direct sales. We pour it a lot in the tasting room. Our wine club loves it. It has this really fun textural element. Like Godello, it has the aromatics of, my mom likes to say, it has like the aromatics of Albariño, but then a little bit more fullness, like say a Chardonnay. And yeah, it has this fun textural element, which is also enhanced by, we do 50% fermentation in stainless steel and 50% in concrete egg. So yeah, the Godello, honestly, it is a really fun one. And it's fun to have something different when people are in wine country, and there are a lot of really good Chardonnays and Pinot Noirs around here.
I actually have to tell you that we have the Godello in the UK for £37.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, the UK has a very special place in our hearts. So this is true. And actually, a little few people know this, but we do have an experimental small plot of Menthea planted, which
yes,
it looks like this year we'll have maybe 8 or 10 cases. The first we just
8
harvested.
cases.
Yeah,
oh, for goodness sake.
We'll have to see. Well, we got to see how we like it, and if it does well. Like, there's not a lot of Menthea around here, to say the least. So, we got to see how it does.
Oh, I absolutely adore Menthea. I just love this like graphite and these kind of the wild raspberries, the crunch that comes with Menthea. Have you actually produced any Menthea already, but just not released it, in terms of trials and tasting it?
No, this is like the first tiny, small harvest that we will have. So this will be the first. I haven't tasted it yet. It's still, in fermentation, but super excited.
Right. So you can't even give us a clue as to any idea of how it might taste?
I can't, but we'll have some inkling in the coming weeks and months.
Well, anyway, everyone here in the UK, no Menthea. There won't be any Menthea next year.
Yeah.
All the Albariños, Godellos, lots of Pinots and Chardonnays. Vinum has loads of your wines actually, and they're all around say 35 to, it depends, £35-37 for the Albariño and Godello. Starts getting to about £50 because these are very smart Pinot Noirs. So they're a good place in the UK, actually, if somebody wants to try the wines. Would you say, though, of course, the Spanish varieties are something that it just is such a beautiful nod to your mum's, your past, your history, your heritage, the whole Torres empire. But is Pinot Noir your flagship grape variety?
Boy, I certainly think that our Pinot has built a name for us over the years. I think we have a very also consistent style over the years as we've gotten to know our vineyard better and better, and we have actually a lot of old vines. My mom is a big believer in old vines. And so I would say, the Pinot Noir historically has been really what we've been perhaps best known for. I will say in the US, Albariño's right up there too, especially in direct sales. People come in and they're looking for our Albariño a lot of the time, and it's at a great price point to get some good by the glass listings as well. And it's something different. So yeah, so it's fun to have, the classics and something interesting, exciting.
Well, I'm going to use this as a segue so I can pour myself some Pinot Noir. Ta-da!
There we go. Fabulous. Fabulous. It sounds like a plan.
Presenting your Pinot. This is the Christina Pinot Noir from the Don Miguel vineyards.
Yep.
So tell me about this Pinot Noir. Tell me about how.
Absolutely.
How do you make such phenomenal Pinot Noir?
Also, I will join you as well, even though it is, morning in the US. But hey, we're professionals. We don't shy away from a 9 a.m. tasting.
We don't, and you will have a better palate for it. However, it is nearly 6:00 in the UK on a Friday night, so I have not brought deliberately my spittoon.
Fabulous.
So cheers.
As you should. Cheers. Well, this is a barrel selection. Lucky me, it has my name on it, indeed. And it is a barrel selection of our Pinot Noir from our original vineyard. It is our best of the best. Well, after all, I am an only child, so there's a very long list of reasons, that I'm a lucky person. But this is a barrel selection of the wine that we believe has the most potential for aging that will really develop in the bottle. And so it does spend a little bit more time on oak. We find it just, it can really stand up to that little extra bit of time in barrel. So whereas the rest of our Pinots are 9 months in oak, the Christina is 18 months and a smidge more new oak, 50% versus 1/3 for our other Pinots. So gives it, just a little bit more fullness. It is, and I've got, let's see how it's tasting.
Well, can I just tell you what I think of how it's tasting? So this is the 2018, drinking beautifully. I find this is a romantic wine. Okay, this is seductive. It's the reason, how do I describe to people listening that this is romantic? Okay. It's because, so it's really beautifully perfumed, but straight away it's this blend of sweet and savory. So you've got all this lovely, dried rose petals, but then you've got like that smoky char, like some wood embers, this sandalwood, which again is kind of like, I don't know, your man's aftershave. It's a little bit sexy. And there's like a little bit of mocha in there. So there's the chocolate note is kind of, it's date night. And then there's obviously something really wild strawberries, but the tannins as well are really, really silky. I think this is drinking, seems to be perfect. Of course it's going to age, but right now this seems to be a beautiful drinking window. And the tannins, apart from being silky, are like soft and sweet, like a kiss. There we go. I think I've done the wine justice. This is a seductive, sexy, perfumed, romantic wine.
I love it. That description was fabulous. We're going to have to keep that snippet. That was beautiful. It's certainly a wine. And it's such a baby too. Our wines age quite nicely. So it is, it's still got a ton of fruit to it.
Loads of fruit. Yes. Actually, we've not really even got into any tertiary notes that would come later. So beautiful. That was stunning. Now, for anyone, by the way, that wants this specific wine in England, I'm sure very easy, to find in America, but Vinum has it at £63. But 2019, everyone. So I assume there'll still be some sexiness. I can't guarantee how sexy. Maybe the 2008 is sexier. I don't know. Everyone go get the 2019 and see if you have the same romantic experience as me. But yes, we have this in the UK.
And I will say the dogs who have giant sculptures, they're really cute English Springer Spaniels. They do also have wines named after themselves. So the dog siblings. But I will say my wine came first and it is is more expensive. So I'll take that one.
But listen, the dogs are actually the other two children, are they not?
Yeah, exactly.
When people come and visit you, will the dogs be there? Because that is what people listening are going to want to know.
Very important question. Usually there's a very good chance. Most of the time they're, running around and greeting and, begging for food with very cute faces, as we know how they do.
So people are likely to find them, and if they really want them, make sure they've got a salami in their pocket, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, hey, if you happen to, we also have events every month. And so if you happen to be in town around one of our events, which are always at my mom's house, feature a full Spanish meal, then you are 100% sure to also meet my mom and me and the pups. So we do some really fun events, from like a flamenco show to, we've got like a holiday paella in December. They're good fun.
Holiday paella in December. Why not?
There we go.
And this is, you said your mum's house, but so in my head, I'm thinking of the hacienda that I can see in the picture. But is this winery / house receiving people? Hang on.
Yeah. So, and in fact, I am actually right now at my mom's house. It is on the other side of the property from the winery. Okay. So it is separate from the winery itself, and it has this beautiful view overlooking the vineyard. It's a really special place.
But this is the beautiful Spanish style building that's in the photos, correct? If people...
That is the winery. That's the winery.
Okay, well, that's still, that's beautiful as it is. Okay.
It is. Yeah. And it's very much in that Spanish style, just like you say. We call it, our original wines, the first wines we made, they're called La Masia because they are named after the winery, and that's how the winery is built, in the style of a Masia or Catalan farmhouse. So it is very much, it transports you to Spain when you come in. All the decor is from Catalonia.
I have to ask you, the legacy of Torres, how has that impacted you in your work at Marimar Estate? Because your family name carries all of this history. Torres is very often spoken about for all of this research into indigenous old unknown varieties and all of the sustainability that they're doing as well. So how does that impact you?
Yeah, that was also a piece of why I also thought it was important to get that outside experience and a couple years outside the wine business, so that I wouldn't be, my last name wouldn't be so recognized. But it certainly is, it's an honor to, be a part of that legacy. And my uncle Miguel has really been at the forefront of banging the drum about the need to reduce our carbon footprint and the impact of climate change on the wine business and, of course, on everything. And so being a part of that, it's also really an honor where my mom and I are both members of the board and shareholders. And so it's really, important to us honoring that legacy. And then, all the research that goes on at Torres, and there is some really, really awesome projects with ancestral varietals, which actually, in fact, we have planted some, and we, had some little trial plots, and it went so with some of the reds. We're waiting on Forcada, the white, to get through FPS to plant it. But so it's really just something that we're very proud of, and to be a part of that legacy.
And for the Forcada to get through the government, it's like to check that it hasn't got diseases, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I will say the Albariño and Tempranillo, my mom did not go that route. That is definitely the suitcase clones route that she went. Crazy enough, the Godello, we actually source the plant material here in California. Yeah, crazy.
Interesting. I mean, how did you? This is your mom, isn't it? This is why I love her. She's a force of nature. It's like, you know what? I want this. I'm having it. Boom. And somehow as well, it seems to always land on our feet as well, because it's it's a confidence. Listen, it's not. It's fine. So the fact that you've actually openly admitted, like, we snuck them in, like nobody cares. Is everyone just turning a blind eye?
The story does go that, so there were like 10 boxes of Tempranillo cuttings that she sent from Spain, and, you know, unmarked and all, and 9 of them made it, and the 10th, it was like, well, maybe it got lost along the way, who knows. Then shortly after that, there was certainly, you know, an inspector knocking on the door who said, excuse me, are you, you know, shipping plant material from like internationally?
Oops.
And she was like, oh no, like, am I not supposed to do that? And yeah, showed him around and somehow talked her way out of a more serious repercussions. So it's exactly what you just talked about. She's something. Boy, good luck like negotiating with her. Yeah.
She's like my idol. Honestly, listening to her, I honestly, everybody listening, if you have the opportunity to go and meet Christina's mom, eat her paella, she's written Spanish books, hasn't she? Like, just
exactly.
Her attitude to life and taking the bull by the horns and stuff. There's just something that is so admirable about her attitude in life. It's very, very motivational, but I think she doesn't realize how motivational it is. Yeah,
she definitely does it. Yeah, and she also doesn't think of things as being challenging. She just kind of gets it done, just moves forward. And actually, if something looks challenging, or if people say, well, that there are these like complicating factors, then that just makes her want to do it more. So yeah, I don't even know how she does it, but and she's turning 80 next month. I know. And it'll also be 50 years next month since she moved to this country. So quite an exciting celebration.
Big celebrations. Now, you know, obviously there's been a few suitcase clones. What about Pinot Noir? Because obviously there's the famous suitcase clones that came over to America originally, not to do with your mother, I might add. But I know that you've got the 115, 667 Pommard, so specific Burgundy clones that have great reputations. For you, is this something that you notice that is super important for your Pinot to work selectively with each individual clone?
Yeah. We do find that each clone, you know, brings a different layer to the final blend. And so it is a really special thing being able to work with the blend each year. And we have found that, the Dijon series, the Pommard clone has really thrived on our property, and we have it planted on both vineyards. So it's really, and the blend, so our like initial, or at least primary Pinot Noir from this vineyard, the La Masia Pinot, is a blend of all those clones. And then the Cristina as well, although it does tend towards the Pommard clone. And then we have a couple single block bottlings for our wine club. So it is really, really fun playing with those clonal blends.
If someone was asking Pommard, like the Pommard clone, is it fruitier? Is it spicier, savory? Why is the Pommard clone so good?
Yeah, absolutely. We like to say is that the Pommard clone, at least for us, really brings like the full package, like a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so we've found that, it has that like that depth and that complexity and like red and black fruit. It is really, it's like juicy, but again, we're still, in a very cool part, so it doesn't go into the like jammy direction. And it has really nice structure and then some like savory notes. So it's a clone that we love working with.
So it's kind of sits maybe a good balance. It's not super like I've tasted the 828 and it's kind of quite jammy, and that gives you the really good red fruits, but then 777 is the more kind of savory, more gravelly, darker berries. So this sounds maybe, because I've never tasted the Pommard, I'm just asking for myself rather than the listeners. Sounds to me maybe this one sits in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. It has some nice depth and fullness to it. Yeah.
But then again, everyone listening, remember, you plant one specific variation of a grape variety in one soil and one place and a different climate, and it's different and it presents itself differently in all places. So
Exactly. Yeah.
So, okay, I have a few more questions as we slowly sum up. So, is there one thing that would surprise our listeners? Is there something exciting going on in the vineyard or in the winery that you are starting that looks like it's going to do some really good things?
Yeah. Well, I let the cat out of the bag on the Mencia, which is certainly, a fun project that we have, and we'll see where that leads. Then the Forcada, that white ancestral varietal that Torres recuperated.
Yeah, I don't know if I told you this before, but I went on one of Torres's ancestral tastings earlier this year, and I got to taste Forcada, and oh my gosh. So for anybody listening, I had a sparkling that's not yet been released, and I just remember this alpine freshness and kind of a salty, peachy minerality.
Yeah.
And then I had a still wine, and it had this tea leaf and sage, but this distinct lemon peel. So, oh gosh, high quality grape and just utterly compelling. But time will tell on Forcada in Sonoma with you guys, right?
There we go.
So to finish off with, I want to know a very fun story. I think when you were very young, the future king, who is currently king of Spain, came to the winery. Were you showing him around?
Oh my gosh, I do remember this. I was literally 6 years old, and I remember it was kind of fun going to school and saying that I was meeting the Prince of Spain, and so I do remember. Well, there's a moment that is seared in my brain and in kind of the history of this place, because there's a photo at the winery. I made these very special cookies. And so there's this photo of me with the prince and my cookies. Christina made her special cookies for him. And this was from the Mrs. Fields cookie book, which I don't know if that's a thing in the UK, but it was my Bible. I love to bake. And it was the hardest recipe at the back. It was okay, the prince is coming. We'll do this one. But it was pretty cool. He's a lovely guy and really, down to earth. And it was pretty cool then saying to my friends, oh, the Prince of Spain kissed me, because, we do a kiss on each cheek when we greet each other in Spain. Yeah.
I love that. You baked cookies for the King of Spain.
Yeah. Exactly.
Conclusion. Thank you, Christina. Your wines are beautiful. I've tasted so many of them, and I just think everyone needs to try them. They're vibrant, they're fresh. It's great that you've got the classic Chardonnay and Pinots, but then these wonderful Spanish varieties. So thank you so much for joining and having a chat with me.
Thank you, Janina. It's been really fun chatting with you. And I can't wait to be back in the UK again before too long. I love you guys.
Yay! We'll see you soon.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Do let me know if you've tried any of Marimar's Godello or Albariño. If not, have a peek in the show notes. Along with my email address, you'll also find links so you can grab a bottle or two. And while you're already online, if you're enjoying the episodes and want to help more people discover the podcast, it really does make a difference when you take a moment to leave a rating or a quick review on whatever podcast app you're listening on. Tiny action from you, but a really huge help for the show. Now, to close, a wine quote, as always, because this conversation has woven together wine, heritage, and the ties between Christina and our mum. I'd love to close with a quote from Miguel A. Torres, Christina's uncle, that really sums up what sits at the heart of their story. And he said, "In wine, as in life, what we pass on matters as much as what we make." And speaking of what we pass on and what we celebrate, next week we're diving into sparkling wines for the festive season. I'll be sharing the 10 things you need to know about champagne and English sparkling wine with sparkling wine expert Tom Hewson. And finally, enjoy the next few weeks, celebrate with friends and family, and of course, drink well. Until next week, wine friends, cheers to you.